Good morning, YouTubers. I wanted to start in my Facebook profile here, my timeline as I call it, just to date what was going on around this time. There was the big CrowdStrike snafu, and this is a satirical picture. It shows the Madison Square Garden ball, or the giant sphere in Las Vegas, with the so-called Windows blue screen of death on it. And this really didn't ever happen. And I knew that when I posted it. But Facebook, they have some algorithms to detect fake news. So if I just reload my profile here, let's do that as fun. You'll see how fake news is given special treatment. We have my profile here. Let's let it populate. I enjoy Facebook in dark mode, as you can see. And I'm scrolling down to, it's been a couple days. This is going to be a short video, by the way. I've got about 3 topics I want to take up. Homer Davenport. Now, I didn't plan to talk about him, but he is a very important political cartoonist who lives in the time of Teddy Roosevelt and Hearst. And he comes from Silverton, Oregon, which is a town not far from here. And I hope to make it to this lecture. I've heard Gus talk many times about Homer Davenport, and I always learn something new. There's a lot of American history to be learned through the history of its political cartoon culture. Speaking of which, okay, I won't spend a lot of time here. Let's Charlie's Angels back to the blue sphere. Oh, hauntology. I'm going to get to that. That's Derrida coins that term, but it's going to be apropos when I get to Mark Fisher in a second. Peter Ford, shout out, music in the park. Okay, here we get to it. See, that's what you get. False information, that's the blue sphere post. And if you want to see why it's false information, you get all this and then see post, and there it is. So, I expect I'll get flagged like that again because I like satirical things. And I knew this was satirical, but hey, it's also fake news, you could say, if you take it true and literal. But then there would have been a lot more stories and pictures. I knew it was satire. And when I shared it, I kind of expected my readers to know that too. But hey, Facebook's helping for people who can't tell the difference, and it's not always obvious, I'll admit that. So since my last video here, if you're a teacher of Synergetics, you're wondering why are you wasting your time? Well, that sphere actually, that's programmed from Burbank, and we've taken an interest in it in our Trim Tab Book Club, which is Bucky Fuller focused, because, after all, it is a sphere and could be used to show a lot of the spherical geometry on the outside, plus synergetics, concentric hierarchy, and so on, geometric cartoons on the inside. Could be a future feature if Burbank wants to dribble that in, but it could be through other shows, right? Grateful Dead has been popular recently. No reason Grateful Dead couldn't merge more with Synergetics in terms of aesthetics. I've been doing that in my blog some. So, Math Art Stream 4 from Active Inference Institute, moderated, hosted by Daniel, has been viewed over 200 times as of now. It's a pretty recent post, different audience from my channel. I'm really gratified that this occurred. It was a good talk from my point of view with some fun interactions. I packed a lot in. I really recommend it if you're a student in this channel of Synergetics. I feel this was one of my better synthesizing of my different slide decks so far. Okay, so check it out. And in that vein, the Math for Wisdom coda, which I'll put a link here, you can drill down into that as a reader and find some interesting stuff. And I just wanted to alert you to the meetings tab or outline entry, where we have a lot of what just looks like kind of repetitious, boring material, but behind each one of these meetings are the minutes for that meeting. And so for most recent meeting we had this week, talking a lot about Ed Applewhite and including embedding, and we also talked about embedding stuff he wrote, and Sam Lanahan and the isotropic vector matrix connections. Lots of interesting Operation Duck Rabbit, which is what the math art stream focuses on as an entry point. So I'm just saying, come on by and check out these minutes at some point. It's like they're not going to say everything that went on in the meeting, but it gives you a sense of content and leads to explore places to go. All right, I think that's about it. So definitely, in sum, if you're studying synergetics, you know our approach. It's like the most elite, exclusive, sort of bleeding edge, best schools in the world are definitely teaching this material. We know that. By definition, really, it's a tautology. So, and I'm here in the Silicon Forest exemplifying, if you want to fine tune your curriculum and make it more competitive and cutting edge, more ahead of its time, then this is the kind of material you're probably going to include, but not necessarily in the same way I do, and calling it Martian math as a part of the digital math curriculum. Let's see, Wikimedia, let's see, digital mathematics. Where do I have that? Digital math curriculum. There's a lot of places I could look for that. But in other words, I'm expecting that you have a different approach as to what you want to how you want to wire it up in your school. I think the faculty of a school should be actively engaged in creating curriculum. The school needs to have its own servers and recordings in-house of all kinds of things and grow that subculture of that school that way. And that's how I want us to grow our subculture as a school, right? Just out here on the internet, partially overlapping videos. So if you want to get in on the action here, I recommend making videos that point to some of the same material. Oh, I know what I forgot. I was going to talk more about the weird. Because Martian math, which we were just looking at, which is how I share synergetics, Martian is meant to connote not literally Martians, right? Just like the Las Vegas sphere. I know it's satire to say that it showed the blue screen of death, and I know that there aren't really Martians. I'm talking about an ET point of view, and from that point of view, you look at the planet, you look at humans, and you see that they believe a lot of interesting, weird stuff, like nations. They divide up their world a certain way and play these games. And, see that from the outside. Get out of the box sometimes. See your own world, the world you live in, the everyday world, as not taken for granted and how it should be and the way it has to be, but as weird, as eerie. Doesn't mean horrifying necessarily, although this world is horrifying. I'm not going to deny that, but nevertheless, maybe we can never make life other than horrifying in some dimensions. There's a big planet here and horrible things happen, but weird and eerie, don't run away from those as super scary, right? That's something that Mark Fisher's wanting to clear up in his book on the eerie and the weird. So Mark Fisher, British philosopher, lots on YouTube, lots of overlapping content. Martian math is weird, quadrats are weird. That's kind of our doorway into kind of an adjacent space where more schools, other than the best ones, also share more of this material, right? It's percolating outwards, maybe through your English class or through your literature class, where you're studying poets and 20th century thinkers. Hopefully, though, too, in your math class tends to lag because math's much more inertia there. It's harder to break in. But with our Jupyter notebooks and Python programming and the melding of programming and computer science and mathematics, it's all more likely to pop up in your reality, in your personal workspace, somewhere, somehow, even if not in the classroom. Although classroom's a great place for it. All right, talk to you soon.